Hello, I'm your host, Donna Cee, and welcome to Building Blocks, foundational truths you can build your life on. Today's topic is kingdom marriage. What is a kingdom marriage? Kingdom marriages are marriages placed together for the sake of ministry. What these ministries do, they help people come to the place in faith that we should all come to before Jesus cracked that sky. And the reason why God is having to bring forth kingdom marriages in this hour is because the people have been scattered by the things that have been done now. The church has become to look more like the world than kingdom. And so God is having to step in and actually make some moves. What about this kingdom marriage? It starts from the history of kingdom marriage would come from betrothal, which means to be betrothed, which means to be intended for. And so God intended for these two people to come together. Their marriages can mesh, their ministries are alike, so they mesh together, bringing it to the place where God would have it to be. And the woman that God chooses for the man, of course, because man was not made for woman, woman was made for man, that God chooses the woman. And the woman is able to help the man meet and them meeting together the things they need to meet in order to bring God's people up to a certain place. Now, are we talking about just plain old gifts and callings? Did everybody have to be called, so to speak, in order to be able to have a kingdom marriage? No, but every man should have a vision for his house. Because if a man has a vision and he says, and he wants his household to be ran a certain way or whatever in the admiration of the Lord, then he can ask God for a wife, and he'll bring that wife that'll help him meet the vision that the man has. That's for those that are not called. But for those that have been chosen, God has a certain thing for them to do, and he has people women that he have placed in the earth realm that have the things that these men are going to need in order to help them achieve what God has called for them to achieve, even together. Now, in these kingdom marriages, because the man have a marriage, does he squash the woman's marriage ministry? No, he does not. They both have ministries, and it's necessary for the woman to have had a ministry because she has to understand ministry. She has to understand what it's like to go through ministry troubles and situations. Another thing is that we look at the people on the outside. Men, that is how men choose women. They have to be attracted to. Men are attracted to women. They love women that they are attracted to, and women are attracted to men they love. See, we have to love them first, and then we become attracted to them. But it's the opposite way with men. And so let me help you with that, my brothers. When God brings you a mate, when He brings a woman in your life, and He says, "This is your wife. This is who I intend for you to have." He's saying to you, this woman has everything. And if he has given you a world ministry, he's saying this woman has everything you need in order to catapult you into the place where I need you to be. Now, let me give you an example. Let's talk about building a house. Let's say only you and your wife, this wife intended for, was to build this house. And there was another lady that you was looking for that had all the bells that looked like little things, tricklets and all this old kind of stuff going on with her. But all she could do was paint. But the woman that God sent you, she could not only paint, but she could read blueprints, and she could use a nail gun, and she could, she knew how to use a saw and that sort of thing. She could do everything that was necessary for the house. Now, those are just general outside abilities, but that's not what we're talking about. If you're going to build a house in God, you're going to need more than that. You're going to need the Holy Ghost. You're going to have a little bit more than just abilities. You're going to have understanding. You're going to have love. A woman that God will send you is one that's going to have love. And what does love do? Love hopes all things, endures all things. It hopes all things, believes all things, and endures all things. So love is going to be able to endure, be in there for the long haul, have some tenacity, some bounce back when things are not going right. So that's the kind of structure you need. It's not necessarily the abilities of people, it's the character. And that's what lets you know that somebody's been walking in God. Somebody can preach to you one minute and lie to you the next. That's not a spiritual mature person. If somebody you want to talk to and you want to tell them what thus said God, tell them the truth, and they turn you and they walk away from you and never talk to you again because you told them the truth, that's not somebody that's spiritually mature in God. Yet we see it time and time again with our leaders. And so what lets people know that you really walking in God is your character, because the character is what's been built in fiery trials. Fiery trials that you had to hold on to, that you had to have integrity in, to say, am I gonna do this, while ain't nobody's looking, or am I gonna do what's right? Those kind of things, the character. And so in that character, what is yield through you going through fiery trials is the fruit of the Spirit. He said, you shall know my people by the fruit they bear. See, when you go through trials the right way with the right attitude, that's what's going to be yield. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, those type of things. That's what's necessary to build a ministry. So a woman having all, the hair and everything going on, it should not be our first thing in this hour anyway, because we're trying to get God's people to a place where they can all come to know him in a real way, as we do, as leaders do. And so, well, some leaders do. I can't say that for everybody. So I just want you to understand the fact that the fruit of the Spirit is what's going to separate the wheat from the tare. It's what separates those that really know God and those that pretend, can put on a show, can play church, that sort of thing. And so I was saying that every man should have a vision. It's good that a woman would have self-control. Why? Because then she would be able to know how to respond to what somebody's saying to her, have a proper response to that. A man of God would have the proper response, having self-control. I'm going to say this, that women that run after men, women that come and plant themselves in men's ministries and give them everything and act like they're their wives and they're not, that sort of thing. We're never, women, let me help you with something. We're never to act like a man's wife before we become this wife. Why? Because God gives us the ability to know that we're their wife, that he called us to be with this person. But if that person never receives us, then he has, and we're walking right and doing right, then that's only higher. The person that he's going to take you to and put in your life, the next, is going to be higher. They're going to be greater. So these people that choose not to have you, then you don't sweat it, because you didn't do anything that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. Your first devotion is to God. And when you yield to this person and sleep with them and do all these kind of things with them, you have made them your God. Your God should be your ultimate. You should always be pursuing to learn, to be strengthened in the Lord, to build your character up so you're looking more like God. That sort of thing. Building a house. I was talking about building a house. One can paint and the other one had all of these abilities. Realize this, that when that God send you something, it says, God, the blessings of the Lord make rich and add no sorrow to it. And another thing about the Lord, he says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. When you receive each other, when the man receives the woman and then the woman say, okay, I'll come and I'll stand with him, then y'all receive each other, respecting each other's ministries and what it is y'all have to do, then you can see the bigger picture. It is no longer in your hands about what this person does. You can always go to God about if this person upsets you, if they don't understand something. You can always go to God and say, okay, Lord, I'm going to need you to talk to them. I'm going to need you to, show them this, show them that. If they're not, if you don't know each other at the top, you're just trusting for each other. You're trusting the God in one another. That's what this thing is all about. And that's the beauty of it. That's when the miracles come to pass. That's when you stand in agreement, because you're doing this thing out of the sake of that God told you to do it, not so much as that you chose the person. And so that's what you should be looking at. That's what you should be committed to, doing what thus said Lord. We know that the only people that'll be able to receive this type of ministry in this type of marriage, kingdom marriage, are those who will live by Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Men of God, trust God. When he sends you the wife, he is going to tell you, and he tells the woman, but the woman is not to move. Now, men, don't get caught up in these women because they didn't gave you all their credit cards and to plant themselves in your ministry, and now everybody thinking that you should marry them. Oh, he wrong for not marrying her. You better do what thus said God, so that the people of God can get where they have to go. And this is what this is all about. God is trying to get his people to a place, putting them under pastors after his own heart. So I'm saying to you, have the heart of God today. Love him, trust him, believe what he says. And the fruit of the Spirit is what let us know who's spiritually mature, who will take us to the place that God wants us to be in. Again, I'm Donna Cee, and you have been with me with Building Blocks. God bless you and God keep you as always, my prayer.